Alright, so this is the first of 3 videos that we're going to put out here for you. And this is what I'm considering my Paths to Progress series. There's going to be 3 videos in a row here. All of them are going to be about how we get better on the instrument and the ways that we can do that. This video is going to be kind of an overview of the process, and then the next 2 videos, one of them is going to be making best use of your time with a guitar instructor or a class situation, and then the third video is going to be things that you can do on your own actually to become a self-instructor, and some tips and tactics and whatnot to make really good use of that time. Now, we're going to kind of visualize the process today as something of like a pipeline, right? And on the intake part of the pipe is going to be where we're learning the material that we need. The end of it is going to be where we're performing it or making use of it. And in the middle, we're going to talk about those elements that I think actually need to be addressed when you're trying to become a better player. Now, the ways that you can learn from videos, books, guitar teachers, classes, other people that you play with, a mentoring situation or whatnot. There's a million ways to take in information, right? And we're not saying any one of them is better or worse than any other in this particular situation. The outtake part of it is, you want to be able to make music. That's why we pick up any instrument, is the actual process of making music is something that we enjoy. We all have our own personal reasons for that. In the middle, though, this is kind of the important part. In the middle, we have 4 elements that I'm going to consider very important to you actually getting ahead as a musician. The first one is time and rhythm. And this is the thing that I find more experienced guitar players need help with than anything else. And I've had people come in here into this studio who have record deals. I had somebody in a band on Warner Brothers Records, second record, come in, and we had to work on playing rhythm guitar for an album he was working on. I've had a lot of semi-pro players that play in bands. That's one of the most basic elements of music, is the concept of time. It's also one of the things as guitar players, either we're not taught properly, it's not emphasized to us in terms of its importance to music. It's not very fun to learn, so we don't spend time on it. And that's one of the major things that I work with students on. All right, so rhythm and time is like the first really big issue for me. The second one, we're going to call theory, but I don't want you thinking of it in terms of like music theory where you're learning modes and all this other junk. The idea of theory is just understanding music, whether it's understanding your instrument, where the notes are on it, a little bit of chord construction, a little bit of basic harmony, what you need, the tools that you need theory-wise to actually perform at the level you want to be at. No one's saying that you need to go to take an advanced counterpoint class or any of that other junk, but you do need to understand music on some level off of the instrument, where it's not just a bunch of put your finger here and play it kind of situations. The third is technique, and then once again, as guitar players, when someone says, I want to work on technique, most of the time it's, I want to play faster, or I want to do wacky stuff with all my fingers on the fretboard. And really, to me, technique is just your ability to execute the music that you want to play on the instrument. There's all kinds of things that become technical issues. So that's the kind of the third leg that we work on here, is basically just being able to make the proper sounds come out of the instrument in time and in tune in such a way that we're getting the idea of what you're trying to communicate with the guitar. The last one is the thing that I'm personally the worst at, which is repertoire. It's having some music to play, because the first 3 segments of what we're talking about here, the time, the theory, the technique, those are all supposed to be means to an end, and the end should be music. All right, and in order to play music, or to get out the other end of this imaginary pipe we're talking about, you need to learn some songs. You need to actually take all that stuff you've learned and be able to play a bunch of music. And the more music that you have, the more times you go through the process, the more you're actually applying what you're learning and starting to own this material. You know, you can take guitar lessons forever. I've had students that have taken lessons for a very long time that don't play very well, and that's not something I'm real thrilled about, but almost in every one of those cases, it's because those people haven't applied what they've learned in the lessons to some actual music, whether it's playing in a band, playing solo stuff, or even just learning songs all the way through where they can play them by themselves. So, if anything, with this video, what I'm hoping is to give you an idea of how I look at the process. You know, and this whole imaginary pipe idea where you've got the intake part of it, the processing that happens while it's in the pipeline, working on your time and your theory and your technique and your repertoire, and then the output section of it where we're actually using all of that stuff to make music is kind of it's nice to have a program of sorts or a way of organizing what you're working on in order to get some kind of results. Because I've been guilty of it myself, where you sit and you work on something mindlessly for hours and hours thinking, why aren't I getting better? And the reality is that there has to be some kind of a bigger plan, and you will progress. But if you just sit down and start playing a lot, all you're going to do is you're just going to beat the heck out of one little piece of music without any real direction. You know, and that's what we're trying to do, is give you a little bit of direction.